Hello and welcome to the Embroidered Elephant channel. My name is Kim and welcome back to another crochet podcast. Today I am going to be talking about the projects that I finished, any planned ideas, and a majority of this video is going to be talking about my recent honeymoon trip to Italy. And there are a few crossovers, or there's one main crossover into crochet as well. So hopefully that's something you will be interested in. How have you all been? I hope that you've all been well. I hope that it's been lovely weather wherever you've been. And yeah, I hope that you are all happy and you've had some time to knit or crochet. So to start with, I will briefly talk about what's been happening with me. So I went to Italy with my husband for our honeymoon around about 2 weeks ago now. We went for 2 weeks, so we started off in Pisa, that was amazing. We went on to Florence, then we went to Sienna, and then we did 3 little villages quite close to Sienna. Then we went back to Pisa to finish off our trip. Throughout the 2 weeks, obviously, we were really busy, and just in case you haven't been to Italy yourself, I'll just talk a little bit about our experiences. I will try and pop in some videos as well. They will be quite random, and quite a lot of them are just sort of panoramic views of either the cityscapes or when we got to sort of quite a high up area. So when we started off in Pisa, we obviously went to the Leaning Tower and we went to the cathedral and the dome and sort of the whole sort of area that they have around that. There is probably a name for it. You will find that as I'm talking about our trip to Italy, there's quite a few things I don't necessarily know the name of, which isn't great. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first is because my memory is not amazing and I didn't write everything down. Second one is lack of planning on my part. I could have written everything down, but I didn't. And the third reason that I don't necessarily know the names of everything is because our days sort of looked very similar. So we rented B&Bs throughout our stay. So we'd always be in sort of a little hotel room. So me and my husband will wake up in the morning, we'd have breakfast at our B&B, we'd put our bag on, put our shoes on, leave, and then not come back until the evening. So we'd have lunch out and we would just walk. 9 times out of 10 we didn't necessarily have any sort of set in stone plans. Rather we just walked and went into any museums or any churches or cathedrals that interested us along the way. We walked so much, which was really good, but that was mainly what we did. So the reason I don't necessarily know a lot of where we went is because we just walked and went where interested us rather than going researching and then going elsewhere. Hopefully that makes sense. So yes, while we were in Pisa, we went up the Tower of Pisa. We walked up all of the steps, and I don't know how many there are. I'd love to know, so I'll have a little look and I'll pop the number below. It was a long way up and it was strange because you didn't necessarily, obviously you were walking up, you didn't necessarily know how close you were to the top. There wasn't a real sense of, I guess, direction. You didn't know how close you are, how far you travelled, because it was just spiral. So that was very interesting, and we had a beautiful view over Pisa when we got to the top. The cathedral there was beautiful, and there were a few other buildings, so there was some beautiful, I think there were 2 museums, and yeah, it was just absolutely beautiful. The architecture just around Italy is just so different to what we have in England, and you know, something as simple as how tall the ceilings are, I would say that most places we stayed at, they were probably at least 1.5, or I'd say probably 1.5 at least, or 2 of sort of the height of my flat on top of each other, because they were just so tall. I guess there's more space, or that's just how flats are made, I guess. Another thing that was beautiful, again sort of around the architecture-ish, is that just the decoration. So they painted a lot of murals on the ceilings, and they painted the walls to look like they were textured. I'll try and pop in some pictures. Sort of they'd paint wooden panelling on some of the walls, or they would paint sort of borders, or they would further outline or accentuate a painting that was on a wall or a decoration that was hung up. So it was just so beautiful. And it was just so nice as well, because usually I work a desk job. It was really nice to get up and just leave the house and just walk and exercise, whereas usually I don't exercise that much, because 8 to 12 hours a day I'm sat at a desk, or when I get home we go for a walk and then I come back and sit on the sofa. So it was a really nice change from what we usually do. So that was great. And the food that we had out at lunchtimes and dinners was really, really great as well. So we obviously spent quite a lot of money. We stayed within our budget, which was, I don't know how we managed to do that. I will say that there were quite a few evenings where we just bought some food from the local shop and had stuff at home. So whether that was sandwiches or a salad or just yogurt and cake or whatever took our fancy. But obviously it's cheaper to buy something to eat at home, and it's more relaxing as well, than it is to eat out a meal with a dessert and drinks as well. I wouldn't say it was wholly expensive. A lot of the places we went to, we got food quite a bit cheaper than we would have if we'd have bought something or the similar or the same in England. But when you are eating out every day, obviously that takes a bit of a hit on your budget. So yeah. Anyway, so we spent a few days in Pisa. To start off with, the weather was not great. It was just rainy, but it did pick up and it wasn't too bad. We bought ourselves an umbrella, and that sorted us for the holiday, so that was great. And again, we explored quite a lot about Pisa. Just got up and left the house and walked around all day and then came home. From Pisa we then went to Florence. Florence for me was my favourite. It was just a very beautiful city. There were a lot of tourists, so it was very, very busy, and you sort of felt that there was people sort of all around you, as in sort of very, very close by. That is because Florence is the capital city of Tuscany, so obviously there would be a lot of people there. And that wasn't necessarily an awful thing. It was just quite different to Pisa. Pisa, there was a lot of people, but not as many. So, yeah, Florence was absolutely stunning as well. We went on a lot of long walks. We unfortunately didn't plan ahead to go into the main cathedral that they have there. We didn't manage to get tickets to go up the tower, unfortunately. However, we did do the sort of main museum, which showed how the dome and the cathedral were made and designed. So that was quite interesting. It had lots of things in there. We went into a lot of the churches in Pisa and in Florence as well, and Siena. We went in a lot of churches, full stop. and we saw a lot of the decorations and the architecture, which were amazing as well. From there we went into a local library. It's a public library, but it has beautiful scenes. As you sit in the cafe there, you have a beautiful scene of the dome. There was a beautiful walk that you could do to see botanic gardens. That was lovely as well, and it was just the right time to see the wisteria walk, I guess. There was wisteria growing in a tunnel, and you could sort of walk underneath it. That was beautiful. And yeah, we just saw some really, really beautiful sights. In Florence as well, there was an absolutely beautiful museum as well, which I will have to look up the spelling of. It's a museum where they have tiles, and it shows sort of the process of how they're made. They're all made by hand. So the makers literally take stones, they carve out the pieces and put them together. You will see a lot of the carved stones. There is a special name for it. My husband knows. I can't remember. There is a special name for it. They are, as I said, absolutely beautiful. And you will see that a lot of the buildings have tiled floors, and a lot of them are sort of handmade using this technique, which is very easy to overlook, but it's very, very effective as well. And when you live in a country such as England, where you're used to having just laminated floors or carpeted floors, it makes a big difference. Now, the other thing that I did in Florence as well, which is sort of where the crochet aspect comes into place, is I went to a yarn shop. Who'd have thought it? So the name of the shop that I went to was Campolmi Filati Dettaglio. So this is a yarn shop that is quite close to the cathedral. Again, I will pop the name of it below just in case you're local or you happen to be going to Italy. It's a beautiful shop. And when I've gone on holiday before, usually I try to go to a yarn shop and buy something as a souvenir. And depending on what yarn is most local to them will depend on what I buy, how much I buy, and what I end up making with it. Now, when I went into this shop, I spoke to the lovely young gentleman there who spoke English very, very well, thankfully. And I asked him about the yarn that he had. And he said that all of the yarn in his shop, his family shop, was handmade. All of it was made there in that shop. They would buy the raw material and would spin the yarn. So when I said what is most representative of Florence or Italy, what would be, what can I only get in this shop? And he very helpfully said, you can only buy the stuff in this shop. So everything is unique because it's made here. Now, I was hoping I would be able to make an easier decision based on his answer, but obviously that wasn't meant to be. So he was asking me questions. What is it that you want to make? And I will help you choose an appropriate yarn. And I helpfully said I was going to choose my project based on the yarn that you had. If it was cotton, I would make something lightweight, probably wearable for the summer. If it was, So that was my little decision that I needed to make. And there was so much yarn around that it was a really difficult decision to make. They had hand-dyed yarn, they had alpaca, they had cotton, they had wool, they had, anything you can think of, they had it. All different weights. They had samples of each of the yarns as well, each of the different colours, each of the different yarns and weights in crochet and knitting. They also had lots of samples hung up of the different yarn that they had. So it was, yeah, really difficult. He was so knowledgeable, and while I was making this difficult decision, it was, my husband had a conversation with him and I could sort of hear them talking, and he's just, I can't recommend it enough, to be honest. He was so helpful. He was so knowledgeable and happy for a chat as well. Just perfect. I don't think there's much that could have made the decision or the experience any better, to be honest. Because it's all made in-house as well, the prices are lower than what you would pay if you were buying from a brand online. So he did make a few comparisons, which was very interesting to see. For me, it was really helpful that they had free Wi-Fi as well, because as I've spoken about before, so I have an online sort of collection, I can't think of the proper word right now, a collection of all of my finished projects, my works in progress, all of the yarn that I have got, and the patterns that I would like to try. So I looked through all of the patterns that I had, and I found the one that I wanted to try the most, which is a cardigan that I will show you in a minute. But firstly, to show you the yarn that I ended up going for. One thing I will say that I found it slightly difficult, and I don't know if this is just the culture or just my experiences. Maybe a lot of people don't have problems with it. I would say sort of half of the shops that we went into, there weren't actually any price tags on things, so it just invokes that conversation with the salesperson, which is very nice. But also, if you're a little bit like me, I like to know the pricing, to know whether it's sort of something that I can afford or whether it's something completely out of my budget, in which case I don't necessarily need a conversation with someone, because then I find it a bit awkward to say, actually, I can't afford it, or I wasn't looking to spend that much. So in this case, it was probably a good thing, because I would have bought likely more yarn if I'd have seen the prices on each of the products. There were a lot of sort of sale items. So there was a little box of items that were on sale. It had some sort of yarn cones that were half finished, a couple of odd balls, things like that. It did look very good, but because I didn't know the pricing, I didn't want to be irritating and say, how much is this, how much is this, how much is this, how much is this. So I didn't, but again, maybe that says more about me than necessarily other people. Anyway, onto the yarn. So this is my new acquisition, and I haven't really bought a lot of yarn recently, so this is good. So this is called Inca Spun. It's a natural colour and it is 100% alpaca fleece. Now the colour is sort of a creamy colour. It's colour 201 and it is around 50 grams. And it says that the product is from Peruana, so Peru. It's from Peru. It needs a size 6 to 8 needles, so probably quite similar in hooks. So unfortunately, I can't emphasise enough how soft this yarn is. You can see that it is a little bit sort of hairy. It is absolutely beautiful and it's so soft, and that's what really attracted me to it. So he had quite a lot of, well, he had some of the yarn. The Inca Spun yarn was in different colourways, so it was all natural. So there was sort of dark grey, light grey, this colour. I think that there was some whiter colours. There was some cocoa browns, a little bit darker than this. There was a lot of choices. I'd say sort of at least 8 different choices of colour, but this was the one I really liked. And there was some alpaca yarn that was also hand dyed by his mum. So that was various different colours. They were naturally dyed, so using different herbs, spices, fruits in some cases to make it different colours. But it was this one that I really, really liked. Now I do appreciate, because this is obviously it's yarn, because this is made of wool, I will have to ensure that I take special care when I wash this, and when I wear it I'm going to really make sure that I don't stain it, because I can just see me dropping coffee down it as soon as it's finished. But yes, this is the colour. I will also say that this is quite symbolic of our trip as well. So when we were in Pisa, the weather was just raining, it was really cold, and we'd bought summery stuff. So we had to make a trip to H&M. The H&M is absolutely gorgeous. The decoration is beautiful. But the clothes that we bought were all sort of this creamy colour and white natural colours. So it's pretty much an exact match. So me and my husband bought matching. It wasn't planned. We just so happened to pick the same stuff. So this colour is very representative of our travel over there, really. And those were the only clothes that we bought, were the comfy, thick, fleecy sort of clothes to get us through the rainy days. So what was I going to do? I was going to show you the cardigan that I'm looking to make with this. So the cardigan I bought the yarn for was actually this one. And this one I've probably showed you quite a few times, but now I actually have the yarn to make it, and I have the push to make it as well, because the yarn is just so beautiful, and I would like it as a summer autumn. Well, I need another jumper, so I've got the push to make it. I don't know whether it will be too warm for summer. Maybe on evening walks it might be quite nice. It'll be nice for the office when it's a bit cooler, so probably around the winter times, or the autumn winter times. But yeah, this is the Embroidered cardigan, and it's by Crochet with Carrie. So I was frantically in this shop, the yarn shop, trying to connect to the Wi-Fi and trying to find different patterns that I could make and how much yarn I needed. That was the big question. So I needed 10 balls of this. I needed 500 grams, so that's what I bought. So I've got 10 new balls of yarn, and that's the project I'm going to make with it. So that is my next planned project. So after Florence, because that's only halfway through my trip, after Florence we went to Sienna. Sienna is beautiful. We stayed in the city. It was very up and down. There was lots of hills, but again, just the sights that we saw were beautiful. The houses look particularly Italian, if that makes sense. You know, you build it up in your head of what Italy looks like, with the sort of arches. You sort of look down a long alleyway and you can see the houses curling, and the green shutters, the yellowy, orangey houses, and the little scooters outside, things like that. It just looked very Italian. It was just so beautiful. That was my husband's favourite city that we went to. So yes, we did so much while we were in Siena. And again, mainly walking, buying different little presents for people, and yeah, just having a great time, to be honest. Eating a lot, that's mainly what we did. We went up another tower to have a look around the city. That was beautiful as well. And then from Siena we did 3 different little villages. Each of them were very unique. They were quite small. We stayed a night in each, which was perfect for us, because we managed to see most things within sort of one day, so that was good. And there just so happened to be a bus that took us from each village to each one, so that was perfect. And in a bit of a big nutshell, that was our visit to Italy. We had an amazing time. We've got some postcards to send out to our loved ones as well. And yeah, great yarn, great food, great time, great architecture, just amazing really, and a well-earned break. So yes, as I was saying, in short, it was a well-deserved break, and it was just indescribable to get away for 2 weeks and not have any responsibilities, not have to check my phone or worry about emails or messages or anything like that. It was just as great as it could have been, to be completely honest. So as I said about the yarn that I bought, I will link the website below. I know that he sends all across the world as far as I'm aware. So I will be starting that project at some point. I need to print off the pattern and then I can really get started. And I hope that I will get this started in the next couple of months. Realistically, I would say don't hold your breath. I haven't really been doing much crochet this year, really. And again, that's mainly because I am working on reading more books and crocheting the squares to go along with it. So I have got 5 more squares to show you for this month, and they are all of my finished projects so far. Hopefully next month I might have a few more to show you, but again, I wouldn't count on it. No, I should have a few more projects finished. As well as crocheting, I'm also working on some sewing projects as well, so you will see some videos to do with those as well. Anyway, here are some of my finished projects, and they are granny squares for the book blanket I'm working on. So this is square number 28, and this is How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie, I think. Let's have a look. Yes, it's by Bella Mackie. So I quite enjoyed this book. I listened on audiobook, which made it much more enjoyable as well. Easier to get through. Book number 29 was Kiss Cut by Karen Slaughter, another CD audiobook. Number 30 was We Need to Talk by Emily Hunt. Now, this is a book that when I go through all of the books at the end of the month that I have finished. So this month I will do one going through books number 21 to 30. I will talk about all of the books that I've gone through, which ones were my favourites, what I liked about them, what they were about, how many stars I gave them, etc. This is a book that I have quite strong feelings about. So that'll be quite interesting, and I'm quite looking forward to talking to you about it and just sharing my opinion really, because it is based on a field that I work with, so it's quite something I feel quite strongly about. A bit of a change is the book called Nerve by Jean Ryan, and this is book number 31. Very bright colours as well, I love it. And the last one is Family Torn Apart by Kathy Glass, and this is number 32. So in April I didn't take any projects away with me. I did debate whether to take some yarn and a hook over, but I thought that rather than setting myself targets of things I want to do by the end of the holiday, i.e. I want to make 3 or 4 granny squares by the end of this month, I thought that it would be nicer to go without that and just see where it went and just play it by ear, if that makes sense. So that was really nice. I didn't wholly miss crocheting. It was nice not to have to concentrate on it. I took a book with me, so if my partner fell asleep and he takes naps, I find it really difficult to sleep during the day. I could just read, and when we were out you know, at parks or whatever, if there was a bit of time, I could sit down and read a couple of books. But apart from that, I didn't really have a lot of independent time because we were together quite a lot. Being our honeymoon, that's to be expected. So yes, in terms of videos for the next sort of few weeks or so, this is obviously the podcast. Next week I am aiming to get a video out with books 21 to 30 in it. Again, summarising each of them and talking about my thoughts about each of them as well. Then hopefully we will be a bit more up to date. The next week I will possibly have a video about a dress that I've made recently, or something that I've sewn myself to wear. After that, again, I may do a very short video about the books that I've read. So far I am up to book 36. So my thoughts are, if I do another short video at the end of the month, next month when I do it, it will be I'll be more in time or in touch with the books that I've done, rather than doing a rush sort of 10 or so at the same time. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, a lot of sewing videos coming up. I'm also going to try and get a few of my Toft kits done. So keep an eye out for that, for crochet content like I'm meant to be doing. But yes, if you've got any ideas or anything that you particularly want to see videos about, please comment below. Apart from that, I will speak to you all soon. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week with some more book/crochet related content. Anyway, take care. Bye.